In the grand epic of the Mahabharata, among countless warriors of immense power and skill, two names shine brighter than any star. They were brothers by birth, yet adversaries by fate, their rivalry becoming the very heart of the great war. This is the story of Karna and Arjuna, a tale of two archers whose destinies were intertwined from the moment they were born. Arjuna was the third of the Pandava princes, celebrated and revered from a young age. He was the favored student of the great guru Dronacharya, destined for greatness and hailed as the finest archer of his generation. His focus was legendary, his dedication unmatched. He was the chosen one, blessed by the gods and guided by Krishna himself. But on the other side stood Karna, the tragic hero. Abandoned at birth by his mother Kunti, he was found floating in a river and raised by a humble charioteer and his wife. Despite his lowly social standing, Karna possessed an innate talent for warfare that was simply undeniable. He was driven by a burning desire to prove his worth in a world that constantly looked down upon him. Karna's journey was one of immense struggle. He was denied tutelage by Dronacharya because of his caste, a rejection that would fuel his ambition for the rest of his life. Undeterred, he sought out Parashurama, the warrior sage, and learned the art of celestial weaponry through sheer grit and determination. Arjuna, however, walked a different path. His training under Drona was comprehensive, covering every aspect of warfare. He was a prodigy, effortlessly mastering the most complex techniques. His skill was so profound that Drona declared him the greatest archer in the world, a title Arjuna believed was his by right. The first time these two titans truly met was during a tournament designed to showcase the skills of the Kuru princes. Arjuna dazzled the crowd, performing incredible feats of archery that left everyone speechless. Just as he was being crowned the undisputed champion, a new challenger entered the arena. It was Karna, his presence radiating power and confidence. Karna effortlessly replicated every single one of Arjuna's feats, and then surpassed them. The crowd was stunned into silence. A warrior of unknown origin had just matched, and perhaps even exceeded, the celebrated Pandava prince. A duel was about to commence, but it was stopped before it could begin. Karna was questioned about his lineage, and his status as a charioteer's son was used to disqualify him, humiliating him in front of the entire kingdom. It was in this moment of shame that Duryodhana, the Kaurava prince, stepped forward. He recognized Karna's power and, seeing an ally against the Pandavas, crowned him the king of Anga on the spot. This act of kindness forged an unbreakable bond of loyalty between Karna and Duryodhana, setting the stage for their inevitable conflict with Arjuna and the Pandavas. As we delve deeper into their abilities, we must speak of their divine weapons, the astras. These were no ordinary bows and arrows. They were celestial armaments capable of unleashing unimaginable power. Arjuna, through his penance and devotion, earned the favor of the gods. Lord Shiva gifted him the mighty Pashupatastra, a weapon capable of destroying all of creation. He also received the Gandiva, a divine bow created by Brahma himself. The Gandiva was indestructible, its strings hummed with cosmic energy, and it came with two quivers that would never run out of arrows. Karna's arsenal was equally, if not more, formidable. Through his tutelage under Parashurama, he acquired the Brahmastra and the even more powerful Brahmadastra. But his most prized possession was the Vasavi Shakti. This was a celestial dart given to him by Lord Indra, the king of the gods, and, ironically, Arjuna's divine father. The Vasavi Shakti was a single-use weapon, but it was infallible. It was guaranteed to vanquish any foe it was aimed at, no matter how powerful. Karna saved this weapon with one target in mind: Arjuna. However, the circumstances under which they acquired their powers reveal much about their character. Arjuna often received his gifts as a reward for his righteousness and devotion. Karna, on the other hand, often had to fight for them, sometimes even through deception. He hid his true identity from Parashurama, knowing the sage would not teach a Kshatriya warrior. When his true lineage was discovered, Parashurama cursed him, decreeing that Karna would forget the knowledge of his most powerful weapons when he needed them most. This curse would come to haunt him in his final moments. Another defining aspect of Karna's character was his unparalleled generosity. He had taken a vow that he would never turn away anyone who asked him for a boon after his morning prayers. Knowing this, Indra, fearing for his son Arjuna's life, disguised himself as a humble Brahmin and approached Karna. He asked for Karna's divine armor and earrings, the Kavaka and Kandala, which he was born with. This armor made Karna virtually invincible, impervious to any weapon. It was his greatest protection. Karna immediately recognized Indra's disguise. He knew that giving away his armor was akin to giving away his own life, especially with the Great War on the horizon. Yet, despite knowing the deception and the fatal consequences, Karna did not hesitate. He tore the armor and earrings from his very flesh, honoring his vow, even at the cost of his own invincibility. This single act of selfless sacrifice cemented Karna's reputation as Danveer Karna, the hero of charity. But in return for his incredible sacrifice, Indra, moved by his integrity, gifted him the Vasivi Shakti. Arjuna, while a righteous and noble warrior, was often protected by a web of divine intervention and strategic counsel. He had the divine Krishna as his charioteer, his guide, and his protector. Krishna's wisdom and cosmic power were Arjuna's greatest assets, steering him through moral dilemmas and ensuring his victory at every turn. As the Kurukshetra war raged on, the long-awaited confrontation between the two rivals finally arrived. The battlefield fell silent as Karna and Arjuna faced each other, their chariots ready for the final duel. The clash that followed was cataclysmic. The sky darkened as they unleashed a torrent of celestial weapons against one another. Arrows blotted out the sun, and the very earth trembled with the force of their attacks. For a time, they were perfectly matched, each warrior countering the other's every move with breathtaking skill. It was a duel for the ages, a spectacle of power and martial prowess that had never been seen before. But fate, as it always does, began to tip the scales. The curses that had plagued Karna throughout his life began to manifest. First, his chariot wheel became stuck in the mud, a result of a curse from a Brahmin whose cow he had accidentally harmed years ago. He was left immobile, a vulnerable target on the battlefield. As he struggled to free his chariot, he tried to summon his most powerful celestial weapons. It was at this moment that Parashurama's curse took effect. His mind went blank. The sacred mantras and knowledge required to invoke the Brahmandastra vanished from his memory, leaving him powerless at the most critical juncture. Karna, the invincible warrior, was now disarmed and stranded. He invoked the laws of war, the rules of Dharma, asking Arjuna to pause the fight until he could free his wheel. He appealed to Arjuna's honor as a warrior. On a normal day, Arjuna would have honored this request. But Krishna, his divine guide, intervened. He reminded Arjuna of all the injustices Karna had participated in. Krishna spoke of the shameful disrobing of Draupadi, where Karna had remained silent, and of the treacherous killing of Arjuna's own son Abhimanyu, where Karna had played a part. He urged Arjuna to set aside the rules of chivalry for this one moment, to deliver justice and fulfill his destiny. With a heavy heart, and spurred on by Krishna's words, Arjuna raised his Gandiva bow. He hesitated, but then, remembering the pain and suffering his family had endured, he let loose the Angelakastra. The arrow flew true, and Karna, the tragic hero, the sun's unconquered son, finally fell. His life, a testament to struggle against fate, had come to a tragic end. So, who was truly the better warrior? It's a question that has been debated for centuries. In terms of raw, natural talent, many would argue for Karna. He achieved his prowess against all odds with little support, driven by sheer will. He was a diamond forged in the rough. Arjuna, on the other hand, was the polished gem, who was blessed with the best teachers, divine patronage, and a clear path to greatness. His skill was a product of both immense talent and incredible opportunity. Morally, both characters are complex. Arjuna fought for Dharma, for righteousness, but he was not without his flaws. His final attack on the disarmed Karna remains a point of contention. Karna, despite his loyalty and generosity, sided with Adharma, with injustice. Loyalty to Duryodhana, while noble in its own way, led him to support acts of great cruelty. Perhaps the difference lies not in their skills, but in their choices and their destinies. Arjuna was the chosen one, destined to uphold Dharma, supported by the gods and guided by the Supreme Being himself. Karna was the tragic hero, a man who fought against his destiny at every turn, a warrior whose potential was forever shackled by the circumstances of his birth and the curses laid upon him. In the end, Their story is not just a comparison of skill, but a profound lesson on dharma, fate, and the complex nature of what it means to be a hero. It teaches us that greatness can be found on both sides of a conflict, and that victory and defeat are often decided long before the first arrow is ever fired. Thank you for watching. If you found this story of sacrifice, rivalry, and destiny as fascinating as we do, be sure to subscribe to Sanat and Puranas for more tales from the heart of mythology.